welcome to the Highland Park Spotlight. I am your host, Keisha B., and I am excited to be here with you this morning. And I wanted to take a little bit of time to go over the November calendar of events here in the city of Highland Park, as well as give a shout out to those who attended the Coffee and Conversations this morning at 10 a.m. at the Dunkin' Donuts with Mayor McDonald. So if you don't know, every second Wednesday, she has Coffee and Conversations. The first session is at 10 a.m. and the second session is at 5. So if you didn't make it out this morning, please come out and join us for Coffee and Conversations this evening at 5 p.m. at the Dunkin' Donuts on Woodward. So as far as some of the upcoming events, right? So I do know that some don't have access to computers or are not familiar with the text threads and whatnot that is provided to you through the city. So I do want to go over some of the upcoming events. So on November 9th, which is tomorrow, there is the Blood Pressure Education Forum, which will be held at the Ernest T. Ford Rec Center. So that will be at 1:30 p.m. And that again is the Blood Pressure Education Forum, which will be held at the Ernest T. Ford Rec Center. On Friday, because Veterans Day is on Saturday, Friday, City Hall will be closed in observance of Veterans Day. So please make sure that if you have any business to do at City Hall that you need to do this week, that it's done today or tomorrow, as City Hall will be closed on Friday. On November 15th, there is the Planning Commission and the Housing Commission meetings. The Planning Commission meets at 5:30 and the Housing Commission meets at 6 p.m. On November 16th, there is a very, very important meeting. The mayor is asking for attendance to the city's town hall meeting on November 16th. That will be at 6 p.m. held at the Ernest T. Ford Rec Center on Pickens Street. So please make sure that you notate that in your calendars, that you stay up to date in regards to the emails or texts that go out from the city to understand what the city town hall will be about. There is a flyer that will be distributed and it is posted at City Hall. So again, November 16th, there is the town hall meeting held by Mayor McDonald at 6 p.m. at the Ernest T. Ford Rec Center, as well as the Recreation Commission will be meeting on the same day at 6:30 p.m. On November 20th, there is the City Council meeting at 7 p.m. The workshops are only brought on as needed. So majority of the time, there is just the City Council meeting, which will be held at 7 p.m. on Monday, November 20th. If you have not attended a City Council meeting, I do encourage that you do so. Voice your opinions and also learn about the different things that's happening within your city here in Highland Park. On November 21st, there is the TIFA meeting at 5:30 p.m. So please engage in that as well. November 23rd and November 24th, the city of Highland Park will be closed as far as the City Hall. All services will be paused and will resume on November 27th. November 23rd is Thanksgiving Day. And November 24th is Black Friday. So both of those days, City Hall will be closed. Normal business hours will resume on November 27th. Now, there is a special event on November 29th. Typically, the Chat with the Chief is every fourth Wednesday of each month. However, due to the holiday, it was moved to November 29th. However, with this Chat with the Chief, things will be a little bit different. There will be Narcan training for residents. So if you want to participate in the training, we do ask that you RSVP for that. And to RSVP for the Narcan training, you would have to send an email to Monroe, MONROE, at highlandparkmi.gov. Again, that is E as in Edward, M as in Mary, ONROE at highlandparkmi.gov. This is to register for the Narcan training, which will be held on November 29th at 6 p.m. It will be held at the Police Department on Hamilton. So that address is 13233 Hamilton Avenue at 6 p.m. So please, if you're able to make it out, please do so. You can also call 313-252-0050, extension 342 to register for that event. It is important if you are a community activist or you're someone who is familiar with Highland Park, or you're familiar with the surrounding area, or you want to have information in regards to Narcan and how it's used or the purposes, please come out and get trained in that area. You will receive a certificate after completion, as well as your own kit to be able to distribute Narcan in dire situations. So this is a opportunity to gather additional information in regards to that. As we know that there is a pandemic that is happening in regards to drug use. So being able to be a person who could potentially save a life, please come out on November 29th for the Chat with the Chief at 6 p.m. to get your Narcan training. But again, please make sure that you do RSVP, and to RSVP, you can call 313-252-0050, extension 242, or email emonroe@highlandparkmi.gov. So as far as the month of November, those are the events that we have set up. I do suggest that if you are not signed up for the email or text updates from the City of Highland Park, that you please do so. Now, in order to do that, you will have to go to www.highlandparkmi.gov. And on the upper right-hand corner, you will see the link for email updates. You can click that link, insert your information, and receive email or text updates from the City of Highland Park. So we are going to take our first commercial break. And when we come back, I have a special guest that will be joining me here on the Highland Park Spotlight. I'm your host, Keisha B., and we will return right after this.
Have you ever wanted your own TV show? Have you dreamed of showcasing your talent for the world to see? Well, now you can. Have your own TV show. You can have your own 30-minute show. Not only will you be seen in the Detroit area, but you can be viewed worldwide. For more information, call 313-868-6612. Visit our studios and receive a free TV interview to promote your business, church, or organization by appointment only.
Justice for Mario Willis. Truth. Facts. Evidence. Mattered. Log into justiceformariowillis.com. Read for yourself.
Muscles, joints, or feet tired, achy, or distressed? Tried everything? Ringmaster Rubbing Oil is a vintage topical pain reliever, trusted for over 70 years, with a rich formula for the treatment of stubborn aches and pains. Packaged in a glass bottle for purity, our liquid can also be used in warm water for foot soaks and compresses. A little goes a long way. Try our time-tested formula, available in several sizes.
Make a donation to WHBR-TV and receive two 2-ounce bottles of Ringmaster Rubbing Oil for $25. Call 313-868-6612.
TV 33 is moving to WHPS TV channel 15.2. Make sure to rescan the channels on your TV. Then go to WHPS channel 15.2 to pick up TV 33 and all of your favorite shows. The move is on, and we want you to move with us. to WHPS Channel 15.2.
Welcome back to the Highland Park Spotlight. I'm your host, Keisha B., and I am excited because I have the Director of Michigan Veterans Affairs here in studio with me. I have Adam Hollier, who is one of the best, right? So he's an awesome gentleman, and I am excited to have him here in studio. And you also served in the Michigan Senate, right? So I'm excited that you are here to talk resources that are available to the veterans today. So I thank you for joining me.
It's my pleasure. And former director, so I left a couple weeks ago, but
Okay, all right, okay, former, a couple of weeks ago. Yeah. Okay, all right, no problem. So, as your role as the former director, what did that exactly entitle? Because I know that the Veterans Affairs is a huge role, right? So I do want to let you elaborate on that.
Yeah, the big goal that we had as an agency is really to make sure that service members and their families take advantage of all the benefits that they're entitled to. We have a bunch of folks who have served our country, who have done all those things and are not taking advantage of the benefits that they're entitled to, right? So they are not getting the disability stuff, they are not getting the health care and a variety of the other programs. And so I talk to people every day who are like, oh man, I don't need that. Somebody else needs that way more than me. We don't look at your tax return like that. Like, you never look at that $500 that the government owes you and be like, man, the government can keep my $500. But we have a bunch of veterans who day in and day out are like, I got out of the military 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, and are not taking advantage of the things that they earned because of their service.
Wow. Okay. So we are going to get into that, right?
Okay. I like
because I do know that there's some basic things like the healthcare. We do understand that, you know, the life insurance portion of it, but there's so much more to the Veterans Affairs Agency. And I do understand that you are a veteran as well, right? So I want to first thank you for your service and your commitment to the citizens, because it's been in more ways than one, right? So you served as far as your country, but you also served as far as the residents and citizens here. But those that are watching, I do want you to give a little background on who you are, where you served, and what your goals may have been for the veterans for today.
Cool. So my name's Adam Hollier. I'm really excited to be here. Highland Park is pretty close to home. I played Little League football for the Jets here back in the day. And so, you know, this is home. I got my license when we started Secretary of State here.
Okay.
I served in the state Senate and represented Highland Park for 2 terms and was really excited about that opportunity and been able to do a lot of things here in the community. So it's always good to be back in the space as we talk about what we were able to do with the Veterans Affairs Agency. When I started, we had about 130,000 veterans that we were connected to of the more than 550,000 that we know live in the state. By the time I left, we were connected with 350,000. So more than doubling the number of veterans that we had a relationship with. And the reason that that's so important is because veteran suicide is really high. It's, you know, more than twice the normal, or the compared to the general population. And people are almost 60% less likely to take their own lives if they're connected to the benefits in some way. And that could be as simple as they go in and they got a disability rating. It could be as simple as that. And so people are like, well, you know, I don't need this or that, but your ears ring from when you're in the military because I was shooting and the explosions and all those other kind of things, or you got a bad knee because of a jump, or you twisted your ankle, or, you know, like there are all these things that don't mean much when you're 18, 19, 20, 21. But when you're 70, 76 and you remember that injury when you are dealing with something, it comes up. And so we're really, really committed to making sure folks are taking advantage of the benefits that they own. And so if you served in the military, you're not currently taking advantage of your benefits, you could call 1-800-MISH-VET and get a benefit audit. And we strongly encourage folks to do that so that you can make sure that you're getting everything you're entitled to. Because there are a lot of people who may not have been eligible for some things when they got out of the military, but are eligible today.
Wow. So, okay. All right, we gonna definitely dive into
Okay,
that part because
okay.
I'm gonna keep that in mind. But you mentioned that there's a lot of different programs that they're not taking advantage of, right? And let's say for some vets that are returning to the workforce or may need a little assistance with understanding how the technological changes that are happening. I did come across a program, the Veterans Readiness and Employment Program. What exactly is that program?
So I'm not familiar with that one particularly, but one of the things that we really started doing is the TAP program, which is the Transitioning Service Members.
Yes.
And so that's, hey, I just got out of the Army last week. I don't know what I'm going to do with my life. And so, and that happens, right?
Yeah.
It's a very real thing where you've been in the military either for 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, and you're used to military life. And now you're coming back to the civilian world. And people are like, well, what did you do in the Army? And you're like, well, I was an infantryman, or I was a combat engineer. And blowing stuff up and shooting do not jive with that.
Right.
But if you say, hey, I was a leader of people, I was responsible for a team of 25 people, I signed for $20 million, right? Like I was responsible for that property and these people. That's what people are looking for. They're looking for those leaders who can do that. And so we help connect employers with potential potential employees.
Okay.
It's something that we did a lot of in building out that programming, something that we were a leader with. And one of the things I'm most proud of is we changed the way civil service hire folks. So there are a lot of jobs where you have to have a college degree that you don't really need a college degree to do the work, but they're like,
Right, yeah.
you got to have this degree because somebody at some point said that was a requirement. We changed it so that if you were an E6, so in the Army, that's a staff sergeant, is different in different branches. But
Okay.
if you were an E6, a non-commissioned officer, then you don't have to have a college degree to do some of that professional work. And so that opens up a bunch of opportunities for folks coming out of the military to serve at a level commensurate to what they did when they were in the military. And that's really important for folks who are coming and doing meaningful work. Because
Right.
when you get out of the military, you're like, all right, what do I do?
Yeah.
They're like, it says you were a team leader. You could be a shift leader at insert store. And you're like, no, that's not the same thing.
Right. Yeah. It's definitely different. And so, say for instance, someone is coming out, right? And their families, they may be married, have children, right? Are there any benefits that they're able to be entitled to as well with them coming out of the military to help build that family structure too? Because like you said, your mental state is different. You're coming back. And I had an uncle who suffered from PTSD, and I remember one specific situation where my grandmother, she was in the kitchen and my uncle had walked in and she kind of turned around. She was cutting up some greens and she kind of turned around real quick, but she had the knife in her hand. And he just, it was like something in his mind, and he grabbed her and was like, don't do that. Don't do that. So I do understand that certain little things like that can kind of transform a family. So if they're coming home, what services are available to kind of help the family, gel together and deal with that as well?
Yeah, so the Compact Act was just signed into law recently, and it allows folks who are having, issues around mental health some extra opportunities to get care and to be seen immediately.
Okay.
But mental health is a huge issue. It continues to be an issue. And if folks call 1-800-MISH-VET, we have a research center where folks can get connected with some of those services where they can, say, hey, I need these things, or I'm talking about this thing. And so it really helps kind of that clearinghouse. And the reason that I keep harkening on it is because it's an easy thing, right? Like you don't have to figure out where to go and to do kind of all these things. It's like, just call this number and they'll take care of you.
Oh, okay.
And so that's what we're trying to get folks into doing, because it can be complicated if you're like, all right, well, if you need a ramp, call this number. If you need services, call this number. If you need help with your pension, call this number. It's easier to just say, hey, call this number, and they will connect you with the people you need.
That's awesome. So another service, right? Is something brief that was brought up. So I do know that there's some vets that have small businesses.
Yep.
So are there any services available for small business owners also?
Yeah, so there are lots and lots of programs for veterans around small business owners. The first thing that you should make sure that you do is that you establish a relationship with the VA, the federal VA. If you served in the military and you have even a 0% disability rating, so that's 0%. So that's probably hearing loss or something is usually the most
Okay.
common. That's a really important thing to do because it makes you eligible for a variety of programs that are intended for disabled veterans. So if you were, for example, going to do business with the state of Michigan, you get almost 10 points in contracting.
Okay.
And so that's a huge thing when you're like, all right, you and I are applying to do the same work in our bid. Mine's going to win if our costs are the same, if I meet that criteria. And that's a really important
okay.
thing for folks to do. We also know how important it is for folks to get connected to their benefits. There are also lots of programs and training that we've got going on with Leo, many of which are in partnership with the Michigan Economic Development Corporation. And so there are lots of opportunities if you're a small business owner, if you want to do more things. And again, you can call that same number, which is just 1-800-MISFET, right? Like, we try and make it simple so that folks can get connected and so that our team does the routing. So we get you connected, we get you engaged, and we get you moving with the people that we've been working with. Because we see folks who want to say and want to do more than just say thank you for their service, right?
Right,
So
absolutely.
we have a gold veteran-friendly employer program with some of our really, really good folks, right? So I was coming from Ford, which became a gold veteran-friendly employer with us earlier this year.
Awesome.
And so they're always trying to find ways to do more with their suppliers and hire more veterans and to hire more veteran businesses to contract with. And the same thing is true about many of those programs, whether it's Meyer or Dow Chemical or a host of the other, kind of gold veteran-friendly employers we have.
That's awesome. Because I do know that it can be difficult, right? Is running a small business, especially right now, especially after the pandemic and everything, is quite difficult to stay afloat because of the overhead. But to know that, the VA actually has programs available, please take advantage, right? So that's the whole point of having him on the show so that you guys can have a clear understanding of different programs that are available to you. So we talked about the small businesses. We talked about coming out of the Army, but let's talk about housing assistance. There's quite a few veterans here in Highland Park. Some are homeowners, others are not. But for those who currently have homes or those that are actually looking to purchase a home, what housing assistance is there for them?
So the biggest thing is if you're trying to buy a house, there is the VA home loans.
Okay.
And you can use that to purchase or to refinance. So if you already have a home, the rule is pretty much that you can only have one VA loan at a time. So
Okay.
if you have one, it's a great opportunity to take advantage of that program. As we talk about homelessness, we got for the first time in the state budget about $2 million to allocate to prevent veteran homelessness. And so it was really a unique program that had broad implications. And so we just had an event here in Highland Park with Carlton Clyburn and some others talking about a veteran village and some things like that. And we were able to talk to some folks and they were able to apply. I think the agency is still taking applications, but I think the money is all kind of allocated at this point. But the reason that I still encourage people to apply is because it shows the need for more funding. And so when the legislature comes back next year and start working on their budget, they could allocate more money into this program. And that's what we're really talking about doing, is understanding that veteran homelessness is, one, unacceptable,
Absolutely.
and two, correctable if we make the appropriate level of investment. We just have never done that. And a big part of that is the definition for homeless. So, homelessness is a very real thing. Organizations like Covenant House and things are going to have their sleep out coming up soon as the weather starts to get cold. But when we hear and when you read definitions about what homelessness is, it's people who have been homeless for 365 consecutive days. Yes, it's 1 year. So
Really?
yeah, if you lost your house, you
Wow.
got kicked out, when would you be homeless?
The next day, I ain't got a home.
Yeah, the government
Like that's standard.
the government would say it's a year later. And
Wow.
so when you see the numbers and the investment, it is to match the data. And so that's why it's so important for us to really name this as a problem and a priority so that we understand that people who are actually homeless are not being counted and that the numbers that you see are not inflated. They're just talking about a very different thing. And so the $2 million that the agency got from the state to spend is really to prevent people, like you said, on day one, and even before they become homeless, folks who are housing insecure, so that we stop the problem upstream.
Yeah.
Because when you out on the cold is not the day to start providing you with services. It's the day you get that eviction notice. It's the
Right,
day you wake
right.
up and realize you can't make your rent payment.
Okay. Awesome. So, what about disability housing? Is there like any grants or loans available for veterans who may have homes and may need to make adjustments for their homes,
Yeah,
right?
so there are not enough of these kind of programs, and certainly not enough at the state level. But there are programs for just those things. There's just not a bunch of carve outs specifically for veterans. So again, if
Okay.
folks are feeling those issues, there is the Michigan Veterans Trust Fund, and so it can help with emergent needs, right? So if you had a tree fall on your house got hit by lightning or fire or something that's not routine, it is a space that you could go to help deal with some of those issues. And again, you can call 1-800-MISHVET because we want to make it simple for folks to
Yeah.
connect.
So that's great that you guys have that one number, right? Because I remember way back, I did my clinicals at the VA hospital. I was in A6 North, and I had the opportunity to meet with a lot of different vets and talk to them, get a lot of different stories, and understand some of the issues that they were facing, especially dealing with the VA hospital, right? There were so many hoops that they had to jump through, so many different phone numbers. It was very chaotic. And I used to love working in a telemetry unit. And so meeting with patients that can't necessarily have too many issues because they heart, we're talking about the heart here. And so there was one gentleman, and he had made an appointment. It took him 3 or 4 months or so to get in to see the doctor. Had to wait to have a surgery, so as being the former director, right, of the VA affairs, have you seen changes within that spectrum? Because I know that what it used to be from just my personal engagement with certain vets, but I think veterans should have the best health care out there. Like, you guys should be top of the line, because you sacrifice your life, you sacrifice your time, you sacrifice your family, you sacrifice everything, and then to come back and not be able to have the services available that you should have, right? What was it that you saw that needed that change, and what did you do to implement to make sure that it was changed?
Yeah, so the VA hospital, the Dingle VA in Detroit, has had very real and very serious leadership issues over the last couple of years, right? And they got a new permanent director just a few months back. He's from the Saginaw VA. It seems like he has been able to really develop a culture shift to make sure that we are prioritizing our service members and getting them the kind of appointments that they need and quickly. But I think it's important for us to reconcile with the very real issue that we still have staffing shortages across the board because people don't get paid enough, right? And so if we were paying nurses and doctors, but particularly nurses and the healthcare workers, the money that they need, we would not have the kind of shortages that we have. And you see that acutely at the Dingle VA, but they're trying to do a better job. I think they're doing a better job. Congresswoman Dingle has been an incredible partner in moving the needle for that. And Secretary McDonough has been down here a couple times just to help, address those problems. So it's not fixed today.
Of course.
But it's moving in the right direction, and I think people understand that the expectation is for it to be as good or better than the Ann Arbor VA. And I don't think people had that expectation last year, or the year before, or the year before that, and that shift is happening.
That's good to know. So patience is a virtue, I guess, still.
Still hard, though.
Oh, absolutely. So is there legal aid available for veterans as well? Any programs in regards to that spectrum? Especially like there's some here in Highland Park that needs legal assistance, but doesn't necessarily have the funds or retainers. Retainers for lawyers can be quite expensive. So is there any legal aid available for veterans?
Yeah, again, so I'll be the broken record and say, call 1-800-MISHVET because we actually partnered with Legal Aid Society and got some additional dollars so that there are some specific programming and dollars for folks that do that. I will say, though, there are a lot of veterans who go to attorneys when they have benefit issues, when a VSO, a veteran service officer, or the county VSOs would be willing to do those kind of things for free. So it's one of those things that we're always really conscious of, which is why we encourage folks to call the number and do a benefits audit and to talk to a VSO. The MVAA have VSOs that are direct employees from us. The county has VSOs. So if you live in Wayne, Highland Park, or you live in Wayne County has county VSOs. And their job is to help folks get their benefits, to take advantage of them, and to help navigate through the complexity of the federal VA system, because it can be complicated and people are constantly appealing things because they got denied for things that they're entitled to.
Okay. All right. So we are going to take another commercial break. And when we come back, we're going to dive a little bit more into this phone number and how can you go about with doing that. What'd you call it? It was a
benefit audit.
Benefit audit. So we're going to take a commercial break. When we come back, we're going to get into a benefit audit, what that means, how that looks, how to go about it. And I have a couple other questions for the former director of Veterans Affairs. So we will return right after this.
The Detroit Water and Sewerage Department is looking for motivated Detroiters to be a part of our team. We have opportunities for field services technicians, engineers, and customer service specialists with competitive pay and benefits. Make a real difference with the work you do every day. Join other Detroiters who are taking part protecting the pipes where we live, work, and play. Learn more and apply at detroitmi.gov/jobs. DWSD, working hard for you. At the Detroit Water and Sewerage Department, we're working hard to protect pipes by cleaning public sewer lines to reduce flooding and speeding up the replacement of lead service lines. Protect your pipes with 3 easy tips. Pour grease into containers, toss wipes in the trash can, and check for running toilets, leaky pipes, and dripping faucets. For more tips, go to detroitmi.gov/protect pipes. DWSD, working hard to protect pipes for you.
Now you can watch WHPR TV 33 on Fire Stick. Catch all of your favorites. Stay informed. Don't miss a minute of your favorite talk shows. Call, text, tweet, post. WHPR TV 33 is worldwide on Fire Stick. For more information, go to FirestickTVNetwork.com or call us at 313-868-6612. WHPR TV 33, a Watkins Broadcasting Company. Have you ever wanted your own TV show? Have you dreamed of showcasing your talent for the world to see? Well, now you can. Have your own TV show. You can have your own 30-minute show. Not only will you be seen in the Detroit area, but you can be viewed worldwide. For more information, call 313-868-6612. Visit our studios and receive a free TV interview to promote your business, church, or organization by appointment only.
Back to the Highland Park Spotlight. I'm your host, Keisha B., and I have the former director of the Michigan Veterans Affairs in studio with me, Mr. Adam Hollier. So again, thank you for being here. And if you missed the first half of the show, I'm so sorry. You're going to have to catch the replay.
Oh, gosh.
You're going to have to catch the replay. You will be able to catch it on the YouTube channel, or you can visit the City of Highland Park Facebook page, and it will be posted there. Or you could visit the Highland Park YouTube channel and see it there as well. But we've covered a lot of ground, right? So if you missed the first half of the show, you do want to go back because we talked about the, the transition assistance.
Yeah, transition program.
We talked about the, hold on, I gotta scroll.
Maybe you gotta watch the replay.
I do. We went over so much. The small business owners programs. We talked about disability programs. We talked about the housing assistance. So we covered a lot of ground. So please make sure that you go back and catch the replay and get the information that's needed to you. He's going to repeat this phone number, I know, at least 3 or 4 more times.
Does that even sound like me? I don't know. I don't know.
So he said he doesn't want to sound like a broken record.
No,
but
I'm good with it.
He's going to say this number. But I do want to kind of just dive into the other portion of this, because I do understand that there's some of the veterans that live in the apartments. We have 6 senior buildings here, and there's different organizations that come in and out these buildings to educate the seniors, some of which are veterans, right? And one of the things that they come in to talk to them about is Medicare and also life insurance. So this question just hit me in the head. So if a person is retired and they're a veteran, their Medicare, do they necessarily need Medicare, or is all their care covered under the VA?
So if you're a veteran, right, and so you meet the definition to make you eligible for care, you should call 1-800-MISH-VET and do a benefit audit. You should also go to, if you live in Highland Park, the Detroit VA, because that is your, or the Dingle VA, that's where your care should be taken. And you should do the intake screening, and they'll help you figure out what you're eligible for and what you can manage. But it changes, and so the best way to do this is always for folks to go in, to get scheduled, and to see what they need and what they're eligible for, because all of those things can change and do change through time based on your disability record, based on our disability rating, and based on your service record, because the laws have changed, right, with the PACT Act for folks who were exposed to toxic materials. And so one of the things that I would like to remind folks is, hey, if you served during Vietnam and you have hypertension or high blood pressure, it is now presumed service connected. Which
Really?
Yeah. So like,
Wow.
honestly, you're a black man, you served in Vietnam, you probably have high blood pressure or hypertension just off GP. And we recognize that because the incidence of high blood pressure and hypertension is so high amongst Vietnam era veterans, and because they've won so many of these cases trying to make it service connected, it is now because of this change in law. And so folks need to just go get signed up and get checked out. And that's always the best mechanism to manage that.
Okay.
And then they can see, they can compare their options versus whatever it is they're paying, whether it's private pay, Medicare, Medicaid. It's always best to just be able to compare them in real life. And the easiest way to do that is to go down to the Detroit VA and schedule an appointment, or to call us at 1-800-MISH-VET, where you could do a benefit audit.
All right. And so, as mentioned, life insurance, right? We know that there's some basic security through the VA that veterans are eligible for. Do you happen to know what some of those things are?
The thing with benefits, particularly around insurances, they can vary wildly based on what people opted into, what they paid for while they were serving. And the easiest way to do that is, again, to do the benefit audit. And I don't want people to feel like, oh, he's not answering the question. It's like, that's the way to do it, right? You can also call the Veterans Administration benefit section, and they can help you answer some of those kind of things, and they can tell you what you're eligible for. And so if you do those things, you start to get a good feel for how those programs work. There are a lot of I don't want to say there are a ton of scams, but there are a lot of people who are trying to take advantage, particularly seniors and veterans who also serve, to charge you for the benefits that you're entitled to, and to get you to sign up for a portion of that to be paid to them, so they can help you take advantage of something that the county would do for free, something that the veteran service organizations like your American Legion, your Veterans of Foreign Wars, your AMVETS, there are a number of these service organizations that will do this work for free using their veteran service officers, and they'll help you walk through all of that stuff. But it's a really individualized thing. So there are people who served in combat. There are people who served not in combat, who served in World War II and Korea and in Vietnam or post 9/11. And many of those things change based on your service. And so it's important to just be able to have all your records out and to be able to say, hey, this is where I served, this is what I did, this is how long I served, and then someone else would say, oh, well, you're eligible for this and this and this and this and this and this.
Okay. So the phone number, which is
1-800-MISH-VET.
all right. So when they call that number, they will speak directly to, is it a?
Yeah, no, they'll talk to a person who is an employee of the Michigan Veterans Affairs Agency. So it's a Michigander, somebody who is going to be doing this all day. This is their full-time job to help you from our resource center get connected with the benefits that you're entitled to. So you will talk to a real person who this is all they do, and many of which have served in the military, have spouses or children that have served in the military. So they understand this. This is not just some job that they do. It's a calling and a part of their real life.
Okay. And so the benefit audit, which is, say, for instance, hypothetically speaking, I served, I call this number,
Yep.
I speak to someone, and I say, okay, this is my background, this is what I did. Is my information automatically in the system, or do I have to provide that for them? Because I'm just,
let's walk through it. So it
Okay.
depends on when you served. So if you are more recently out of the military, so you young, right? You got out of the military 5 years ago. You served. There's a certain amount of information that we can pull up. So your DD 214, which is your service record. If you don't have one, we can help you get one. It's an important thing that we help folks do. It gives folks the understanding of where they serve. We can help you if your parents or grandparents need this material. That's something that we see a lot, right? Like where, it's like your dad served or your mom served, and you're like, well, I don't really know where she was, and she doesn't have that paperwork, and, she doesn't really remember. That's something that we can help you with. It's something that we help families with all the time, and tracking down those records so that you can make sure that they're eligible for the stuff. And then one of our team members will say, okay, you served in World War II. That means that you were, and you were in the Pacific. Okay, great. And you were here and here. And well, we know that these folks are eligible because they were exposed to this thing. We know that you were a Medal of Honor winner. You are eligible for X, Y, or Z. Or, you have a 10% disability rating, but it says, you said you have hypertension. Oh, well, we should be able to increase your disability rating. Oh, are you receiving a pension? Oh, you're not receiving a pension. Well, maybe you should be eligible for it. So they'll run through the checklist on all of those things.
Okay.
And you'll say, well, I heard about X, Y, or Z. I have a friend who's getting this benefit. And they'll help you find out if you're eligible for that. And they'll ask you some more follow-up questions and help connect you with some other services and people who you may not have thought about otherwise.
Okay. So you mentioned maybe like a grandkid or a son or a daughter being able to call on behalf of somebody, right? So would they need any type of, because I just want to make sure that those who do decide to call this number, that they're very well prepared. So should they have, like, if they have their DD 214, should they have that right there with them before they make that call? Or
you should have whatever you have. So I don't want folks to feel like there's this huge barrier to entry, right? Like if you don't have all your paperwork laminated and ready to go, like that's okay. You're calling because you need help, and we have a team that's very committed to doing that, and they'll help you find what you need if you don't have it and walk you through those processes, because we're here for you, and that's the work that we do. That's what people have signed up to do.
Okay. So are there any other programs that you may know off the top of your head that most veterans are not taking advantage of?
Yeah, so a lot of employers have programs to hire veterans. So, and similarly with the skilled trades program. So there's like the helmets to hard hats program, where you come off military, come off active duty, and then they shift you right into the building trades. That's something that a lot of veterans don't know about. Our veteran small business owners typically don't know that they get a preference for having being a disabled veteran. And again, that could be a 0% disability, which a lot of folks get just because they have some degree of hearing loss or some tinnitus and things like that. So it's not I think it's important for people to recognize that this is not something that is a handout or whatever. You earned these benefits, and that's why you're entitled to them, is because when less than 1% of our population raises their right hand and says, hey, send me, you did. Yeah. And I think it's important for you to recognize that this is our part as a government, as a country, of saying, hey, thank you for this thing, right? Like, you did your part, we need to do ours, and ours is happening on the other side.
Right. So I do encourage those who have not taken advantage of any of the programs that he spoke on to do so. Please call that number and find out what you're entitled to, find out the benefits that you can get, because if you don't have to spend money out of pocket, why do so? If it's free 99, why do so, right? You want to make sure that you can get everything that you need to live a successful and happy life, right? I know that there's going to be some struggles, but just to make it a little easier. And I do thank you again for being here. I do want to ask this question: as citizens, what can we do to help undergird and support our veterans today? Because I do know that the mayor, she's trying to do different things for vets here. She was wanting to form a veterans committee and things like that to honor our vets. And it's huge. And I think that every city should do so. But what are some of the ways that us as citizens can undergird and support our vets?
Yeah, the biggest thing you can do is hire veterans, right? So hire veterans, make an affirmative goal of doing so in your hiring process. So say veterans preferred, military service preferred in your hiring ask. And that makes a difference. People will feel like they're going to be looked at preferentially. And, you know, some people are like, oh, I don't want an unfair advantage. It's not an unfair advantage. It's the same way it says college preferred or college degree. Say in military, because that's a very real experience that people had, leading soldiers, leading individuals, being a part of a team, and recognizing that results matter. So that's number one. Number two is really engaging with people and asking them and encouraging them to take advantage of their benefits. So for all of my folks who have raised their right hand and served, you taking advantage of your benefits really increases our ability to provide high quality care and service to service members across the state. And so we need you to do so. And then I think if you're like, hey, I got some extra time, spend some time with them. Like, be nice. Like, ask them about their service. Ask them what they did. Talk to them in a meaningful way that allows them to to be heard and to be seen. Too many of our veterans came back at a time where it was either not acceptable to talk about their service or strongly discouraged. And people are still dealing with things, right? And so for some people, it was the best experience of their lives. For others, it was the worst experience of their lives. But for too many, it's an experience that they don't share.
Yeah, that's good. I like that. I have two brothers, both served. One is a Marine, was a Marine. He came out and he's now in Nebraska. Go figure. So it's like out of all states, you go to Nebraska. All right. But I know that even for my brother, he went in at 18. And it was a shock to him. It was, I do like the fact that he's become so much more disciplined, though. The discipline is amazing. But he has his own struggles, right? And I'm thankful because would that number correlate to any VA? Because I know he's in Nebraska, right?
No. So that's just a Michigan thing, but
Okay.
anyone can call it, and we have relationships with some of the other folks. I think the thing that we want folks to understand is it is an easy first step. So if you don't have anywhere else or you don't know what your next best option should be, call us, and we'll get you connected to the best of our ability.
Okay. So I have another brother who needs, because I personally took him down to the VA. And when we got down there, and I was just like, whoa, this is a lot, because it was so many different things. We had to go to this one window. This lady took all his information and logged it into the system and was like, okay, well, call this number. So while we're at the window, he has to call this number, and then they're trying to schedule an appointment, and they schedule a phone call. So he gets a phone call and still hadn't been able to see the doctor. So now that I know that number is readily available, I'm definitely going to have him call it because he needs some services. And as a big sister, I'm trying to take care of my family. And I'm the oldest on my mother's side, second oldest on my father. So it's like 9, 10 of us,
Oh, that's a whole crew.
It's a whole crew. And so
Y'all playing full court basketball.
they stress me out. So this conversation was great. So say for instance, my brother.
Yeah, your brother.
Housing. I need to get him some housing. He can call that number
Yeah,
and they
call
can
that,
figure out.
and they'll help connect him to the right thing. So it's not that we do all the things.
Right,
It's
of
that we
course.
partner with a number of folks, and we have the kind of relationships where we can help connect you with the right person, so that you can say, hey, I need X. And we're like, okay, we've talked to these groups and they provide housing or they provide food or they're hiring or they're doing this. And so instead of you having to go in and be like, all right, do I call, who am I? It's
Yeah.
just call this one person. And we
Okay.
have somebody who's in there like, oh, I know for this, I call so-and-so. I'm going to connect
Okay.
you with them. And so one of the other things that we did was we launched this new platform. It's called Unite Us. And so before we'd be like, all right, you call Ms. Jackson, I'm going to give you the number, you call Ms. Jackson now or whatever. And now it's like, all right, we're going to connect you with Ms. Jackson. She's going to help solve this problem. And we're going to circle back with her. And we know that, in a week or 2 weeks, hey, what happened? And so it's really closing the loop. So it's not just a blind referral. We pass you out into the world.
That's awesome. Because especially here, we try to put together resources that's available for residents on the website, and to know that vets just have one number, that they can call and get connected to the different resources instead of them having to go through each resource by themselves, standalone, to try and make calls to see what's available. That's great. And speaking of veterans, so Mayor McDonald is doing Mayor McDonald and the Highland Park Youth Committee. I got to include the Youth Committee because they are doing such a great job, but they're having a Veterans Day luncheon on Saturday, November 11th from 12 p.m. to 2 p.m. at the Ernest T. Ford Rec Center. And will you be there?
I will not be. I will be. I've got like 3 things I'm doing on Veterans Day. So I'm laying a reef somewhere. I think I'm going to be in St. John's and then in Lansing. And I'm going to be all over.
Okay.
But, I think it's important for us to recognize that how important it is and how grateful I am that Highland Park is recognizing veterans this year. Like, it's something that's really important, and we don't do enough of it.
I agree. So I'm grateful because, like I mentioned, she's been doing a lot of different things.
She has.
Right? And it's good. I like it, especially with the Youth Advisory Committee, bringing in the youth because they need to get more involved.
They do.
Right? Somebody got to take these seats, and so it's going to be them. And so to help educate and prune them, I think it's great. And then also to do this for the vets, as far as trying to organize the Veterans Committee and bring in resources, and having you and Honorable Martha Scott and different people involved, in the veterans, with the veterans, right? To try and bring programs to the city and get them involved in things that they don't know about, I think it's great. And I hope that you guys make it out on Saturday. So if you are a vet, please come out Saturday from 12 p.m. to 2 p.m. The Youth Advisory Committee has put together a great lineup. I saw bingo on there. I saw charades. I
So y'all having a whole party, huh?
They having a whole party, and I low key want to be a part of it. So I'm really good at charades. So I'm excited. There is going to be food served. The few of the youth are actually performing. One young lady, I cannot think of her name, but she's awesome. She can blow. She can sing, and she's singing the national anthem. Like, they have a whole lineup. So if you're a veteran, or a veteran, and you're a resident here in Highland Park, please come out again on Saturday, November 11th from 12 p.m. to 2 p.m. And I know that you have a whole schedule, right? But before you leave the show, what is it that you might want to say to any vet or any person that's watching, and what can you say to give them some type of encouragement?
I think the most important thing that we can do is get folks to take advantage of the benefits that you've earned through your service. You earned it. It is not a handout. You earned it. Please take advantage of it, right? So that's number one, right? Like it's number one. And the reason that it's so important is because it is a lifesaver for a lot of people. We know that folks who are connected to their benefits are less likely to take their own lives, and people are much more likely to get connected if they know someone else who's connected, right? So if your friend is going to the VA and you're talking about your experience at the VA, it's much more likely that your friends are now also going to go say, oh, yeah, I said I can go do that. And that may be the thing that saves their life. It may be the thing that moved the needle in their world and got them connected. So please, please, please take advantage of the benefits that you've earned because you earned them. And no one needs them more than you do. And by taking advantage of them, there are going to be better opportunities and better services for all the other people who serve. The other thing is, for Veterans Day, please enjoy your time. Please say thank you to folks. And all those who have served, I appreciate your service. And I hope you are willing to talk about some of your experiences, because it'll help other folks who had less than ideal experiences in the military as well, because people will know that it wasn't just them, and that it can be better, that tomorrow could be better.
Awesome. Well, I ain't got nothing to follow up that speech. That was pretty good. I don't have anything to follow up with that. But again, please take advantage. This show was very specially designed for veterans, because Veterans Day is coming up. This is Veterans Week. And so we want to make sure that we honor every vet. We are grateful to, have people who were willing to sacrifice everything for our betterment, right? And it's not taken lightly. It is not taken advantage of, but it is greatly and deeply appreciated, not just by myself, but I know that it's appreciated by every person that you encounter. And so I am just so thankful and grateful for everything that you have done. And I do encourage, I'm a second, follow up with him. I do encourage you to take advantage of the benefits, because there's so many. And it's heartbreaking to see that there's so many different things that most people don't know about. And so I hope that there was some light shed today on those different programs that are available, from the healthcare to the disability to the housing assistance to careers and employment, the life insurance, what else? The service member benefits and education and training. Please take advantage of each and every resource that is available to you, and dial that number. I'm going to let him say it, because I don't.
1-800-MISH-VET. Again, that's 1-800-MISH-VET.
So that 1-800-MISH-VET. So that's MICHVET. So please call that number. Find out what is available to you. Find out what you currently have, because sometimes we are oblivious to what we also do have. And so we want to make sure that we stay on top of our benefits, not just for ourselves, but for our families. If we don't take care of ourselves first, how can we take care of others? And so please make sure that you call that number and find out what is available to you. Take full advantage of it. Come out this Saturday to celebrate with Mayor McDonald and the youth here in Highland Park, because they want to honor you. They want to say thank you. They want to have fun and just enjoy that day with you. So please come out to the Ernest T. Ford Rec Center November 11th from 12 p.m. to 2 p.m. Again, Adam, thank you so much for being on the show. I appreciate it. I know that it was kind of last minute,
No,
but
I'm happy to be here anytime.
Again, I do appreciate it, because this information was necessary and it was needed. And so anytime we're able to educate our watchers and our listeners, we definitely want to do that. So thank you. If you guys have not signed up again for the text and email updates from the city, please do so via the website at www.highlandparkmi.gov, and you can click on the link in the upper right-hand corner. Please be aware that on Friday, November 10th, City Hall will be closed, and also on the 23rd, which is Thanksgiving Day, and the 24th, which is Black Friday, we will not be in office. I am going to eat until I am in a coma. I haven't had my soul food in so long, and that's going to be my cheat day. That is going to be my cheat day. So I am going to eat healthy until that day. So I am excited and I am just grateful. So thank you for watching the Highland Park Spotlight. I'm your host, Keisha B, and I will see you next time.